vitamin pills, thinking that this will be the answer to all of our problems. All we need to do is buy some pills and take the pills and everything will be okay. Well, I'm here to tell you that it won't be okay, probably. The thing is that our bodies understand what food is. We know how to eat it, we know how to digest it, we know how to assimilate the nutrients, and then our body knows how to distribute them and what to do with them. The problem is that we don't quite understand what to do with nutrition from vitamins. And the problem with vitamin pills is inherently they're synthetic. They're derivatives of the petrochemical industry. In fact, just before I left Australia, there was a huge article in a leading newspaper there called The Australian, which listed vitamins and supplements are here, but the chemicals that you should know about. And it talks about the level of chemicals within vitamins and minerals. Another study came out yesterday from the National Institute of Health, showed that there are no benefits in taking fish oil capsules for cognitive decline. And that was on top of another study last month that showed there are no benefits in taking fish oil for cardiovascular disease. Fish, yes, eat fish, fantastic. Fish oil, no. In fact, there's never been a definitive study to show that fish oil capsules have any benefits at all. The only studies that were done were in the 1950s and 1960s looking at Eskimos. There's a problem with that. Eskimos don't take fish oil capsules, they eat fish, walrus, seal, whale. And so that's where we're getting our nutrients from. The problem is that if we look towards vitamins and synthetics as our answer to our health, then we've got a problem, because what the research is showing is they're toxic. The toxicity levels of vitamins are such that vitamin C, for instance, if you take it in large enough quantities, particularly I've seen people with cancer trying to deal with cancer, giving cancer's patients large amounts of vitamin C is like giving candy to a baby. You're actually feeding the cancer. You're increasing the risk. People quote the research saying that large amounts of vitamin C, 25,000 milligrams of vitamin C are really good. There's a problem with that. The human body can only absorb about 500 milligrams in one go. Otherwise you just get really, really expensive urine. It just goes straight out. In fact, if anybody takes a vitamin, a multivitamin, I ask you to do your own little test. Take the multivitamin and then next time you go to the toilet, see what colour your urine is. It's a bright colour because that's the nutrients going straight out. The body can't absorb them because they're synthetic. It doesn't know what to do with them. And so it gets rid of them. And doctors for years have told us that by taking lots of vitamin pills, we just get very, very expensive urine. Or as we say in Australia, expensive pee. So, synthetic supplements are damaging your health, and there is, at the current level, about 27 clinical studies that tried to prove the benefit of taking them, and they all showed that they had no benefits whatsoever. Beta-carotene given to patients with lung cancer increased the risk of lung cancer, the levels of death rates increased, vitamin E. Let me give you an example for vitamin E. Now, if you took one synthetic vitamin E capsule of 1,000 milligrams, you would have to eat about 1,800 almonds. I was actually stopped after about 9 months because the adverse effects of the people taking large doses of vitamin E were found to be detrimental. Vitamin B6 in its synthetic form, again, derivative of the petrochemical industry, no benefits, toxic, dangerous. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is really controversial because in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, United States, Canada, there's more and more prescribing of vitamin D. Everybody seems to have a vitamin D deficiency. They seem to have changed the levels of vitamin D required for the human body. But what the studies show is that if you want to increase your risk of fractures, then take more vitamin D in large doses. The more vitamin D you take, the greater increased risk of fractures. And the most dangerous form of vitamin D are super doses of vitamin D. If you take once a month large dose of vitamin D, thinking that you're protecting your body against osteoporosis, against bone loss of any form, well then you're doing the complete opposite. In fact, you increase your risk by over 40% by the more vitamin D you take. And again, I stress, in this form, pills, not in food. Food's fine, because you cannot consume the amount of food that you would need to overdose. As I said earlier, you cannot consume that many carrots. You can't consume 2 buckets of carrots in one go, 3 buckets of broccoli, half a dozen heads of spinach. It just doesn't work like that. We can't eat that much. So nature gave us this ability to take the bounty of nature and eat this wide variety of foods to gain the benefit from our health. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, Hippocrates. But we've changed that. We've changed that by the way we've increased our dependence on taking synthetic vitamins, thinking that that's the answer. Because we live in this society where we want the quick fix. We want the answer immediately. Don't feel well? I'll take a pill. That'll fix it. That'll be okay. Take a multivitamin. Feeling a bit, I feel like I've got a little bit of a cold coming on. I'll double up on the vitamin C and maybe take some echinacea at the same time. Or maybe I'll take some echinacea, some vitamin C and a couple of multivitamins. Maybe I'll take 4 multivitamins because I'll be 4 times better off. That's the problem. Our body understands food, as I said. We chew, we digest, we absorb, we excrete. And food is the primary source for humans' energy and subsequent health. Now, some of you may have heard the recent push for the paleo diet and how many people are advocating that we need to go back and we need to eat as our Paleolithic ancestors did, eating large amounts of meat. Well, I'm here to tell you that the research doesn't show that. The research shows that the only way we advanced, us human beings, with the size of our brain, wasn't our ability to eat meat. It was actually our ability to eat carbohydrates. Now, the problem with carbohydrates is that in the West, carbohydrates is akin to using a swear word or some form of pornography. If you mention carbohydrates to many people, they will think, my God, carbohydrates, they're evil. No, carbohydrates are the primary source for human beings. We use large amounts of glucose to function one of the most important things we've got, that's our brains. Our brains use 75% of the glucose in our body, massive amounts. And so we know now that the way we advanced with our brain size was our ability to have fire, to develop fire, and then to cook food, not to eat meat. Yes, we can eat meat. That's fine if you like meat, no problem. I'm not trying to turn you into a vegetarian. But what I'm saying is meat is not the primary source of energy for human beings. Our ancestors had great problems eating meat. See, the problem is that animals run away from you when you chase them. And so you have to catch them, and then you have to kill them. And so our ancestors had great difficulties running after these animals, catching them and killing them and taking them back to the tribe. They did it, but not every day. The primary source were carbohydrates. So look towards your primary source of food. Probiotics are the big thing. Everyone's talking about probiotics. The first group that didn't do much at all, their levels were very low. The group that took the probiotics, no increase at all. The group that had the porridge had a 75% increase in the good gut bacteria. And you have to remember that 50% plus of your immune system is made from your gut. Your gut is the production center. Your gut is your second brain. And so what we put in has to be the primary source. Fish versus fish oil. As I said, all of the initial studies shown to show that fish oil capsules were beneficial were done on Eskimos. Whole grains. We live in a society that loves taking laxatives. Constipation is a wonderful subject. So many people talk about their constipation. They don't go. They don't have regular bowel movements. Not a subject we all want to talk about too often, but it's very important. You need to have regular, you need to be going and having a good bowel movement. Whole grains. Don't rely on the laxatives, because what happens with your usage of laxatives is you end up depleting the body's ability to use the bowel correctly. So whole grains are the answer. That's what nature understands. I mentioned before about fish and omega-3. The Inuit diet does not protect against heart disease. Fish oil capsules may even be harmful. This was the results of a 3-year study looking at all the evidence. They found that the usage may be harmful. Fish is good for the heart, even if research do not know the mechanisms behind its protective effect. In contrast, fish oil capsules may be even more harmful to human health. Now, what is one of the biggest sellers today in the supplement industry? Fish oil capsules, or krill oil capsules, or calamari oil capsules. it's absurd. Again, we're relying on this false evidence to give us a sense of security by taking capsules is going to make all the difference. We're going to be healthy. Just take a pill. Take a pill. Don't worry about your diet. Take a pill. It'll be fixed. Well, it's not going to be fixed unless we decide to make choices ourselves within our diet. Then we're not going to get the benefits of health. We're just going to get the benefits of disease. US Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee has said that a diet high in vegetables, fruits, grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, was more health promoting and is associated with less environmental impact than the current US diet, which is high in meat. Now, I'm not here to convert you into not eating meat, but I did read an interesting study that told me that if we fed the planet, the inhabitants on this planet, the same amount of food that we feed the cattle in the cattle industry, then we would have no problem. We could feed the entire world. And when you think about it, only the higher levels of people, the higher socio-economic, the people with more money can eat beef and can afford beef. So the beef industry is using massive amounts of resources to feed very few people. We could use those very resources to feed more people. There you go, that's just me being a bit of a greenie. The interesting fact is that the diets that we know have the best effect. The European study looked at over 500 million people. They found the two longest living people came from the islands of Crete and Sardinia. Mediterranean diet, you may have heard of the Mediterranean diet, back to olive oil, olives, lots of salad, vegetables, fish, cheeses, all the things that we love, but in moderate quantities. Yes, meat, but not large amounts of meat, but large amounts of vegetables. We know that one of the longest living people were from Okinawa, off of Japan, the island of Okinawa. That changed. The minute the diet of the inhabitants of Okinawa changed and the less fish became more fast foods, the longevity rate, they were the longest living people in the world, they are now not. We know that people from Okinawa that went to live in Hawaii, when they changed their diet to a more American diet, the longevity went. They lost that effect. We know in Australia from studies, we have a great migrant intake in Australia. When we had Italians and Greeks came over in the 1950s and emigrated to Australia, keeping to their natural diet, the Mediterranean diet, they had a greater lifespan than the average Australian. But over generations, that's changed. The great Australian barbecue, stick another sausage on the barbecue, steaks, chips, all of the fast foods. I'm not proud to say that Australia now is the second fattest nation in the world. You know, we've only got 24 million people, but we are the second fattest nation we have the highest level of intake of fast foods and the highest level of intake of red meat consumption. That's giving us a big problem because as a small country, population-wise, not size-wise, we're suffering those effects. Those effects are damaging the health of Australians. We have some of the highest levels of stomach and bowel cancer in the world. Are what's called chelated. They have a coating. It's often cornstarch or gelatine. That tricks the digestive system into breaking down the first level, and then you don't absorb anymore. So from a pill you absorb, vitamin pill you probably absorb about 6 or 7%. Lucky you might absorb 10%. And as I said, you do get the beautiful effect of coloured wee. But you don't get any nutrient benefits. And they are derivatives of the petrochemical industry. And so we've got all of those allied problems that come with it. A digestive system is made simply to take food in, not to take pills in. We've got to take it in from our mouth. I saw an advert the other day for beetroot pills. And what these beetroot pills were supposed to do was if you took the beetroot pills, you increase the nitric oxide in your body. And this was a big company selling beetroot pills with beetroot capsules. There's a problem with that. If you eat beetroot and you chew it, it's only when you mix it with saliva that you release the nitric oxide into your body, in your digestion. So a pill will do nothing. So this big multinational company is selling these pills, it's their latest thing, will have no benefit because we need to actually chew the food, mix it with saliva, and that starts the digestive process. Then we take it down, muscles, push the food down into your stomach, everything's blended with these digestive juices, the hydrochloric acid, as I said to you, they kill off all of those probiotics that you buy in the capsules and the yogurts and the drinks that contain high levels. You have all these drinks that are enriched with probiotics. They can't get past this barrier. This barrier of the hydrochloric acid kills them off. So they're a complete waste of money and have no benefits whatsoever. The liver makes bile, which is secreted down to reduce the fats. We get liver problems when we eat so many fats. Fatty liver is a huge problem in the West. We see massive increases of people suffering fatty liver because you're overloading your body so much so. Type 2 diabetes is now in epidemic proportions. When I was young, type 2 diabetes was simply known as an elderly person's disease. It was something that old people got. When I was in clinical practice, I was seeing people 22, 23 years of age with onset type 2 diabetes because of their diet. We see this as a plague upon our society today, with the increased level of sugar used in manufacturing of processed foods. That's earlier when I said that naughty word, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are wonderful, but they're not wonderful when they're in processed foods and in the manufacturing food industry. That's where our problem comes in, not in eating good carbohydrates. The pancreas, well, digestive enzymes are made here. We overload the pancreas because we eat so much sugar that the body has to deal with the sugar, so it has to make insulin. It makes insulin from the pancreas. Now, often, the combination, let me tell you the most perfect combination for human beings to get sick. I'm not against this particular food, but I'm going to tell you the most perfect food to make you sick. Cheesecake. Harmless cheesecake. But cheesecake is the most perfect combination of fat and sugar. The next is ice cream, which I personally quite like. Again, a perfect combination of fat and sugar. We love fat and sugar mixed together. If you eat a lump of fat on its own, it's not so nice. Sugar we can eat on our own, but only so much. But you mix that idyllic combination of fat and sugar together and make a piece of cheesecake, then you've got yumminess. Problem is that when that hits down in the pancreas, that fat and the sugar creates such a problem that the body has to deal with the fat. It stores it in the fat cells, it has to release the pancreas, releasing the insulin. The insulin brings down the sugar levels. But that poor pancreas becomes so overworked because we eat so much of this fat and sugar combination that we wear it out, we can't make enough insulin, and we then become dependent because we're type 2 diabetic, and we spend the rest of our lives living on medication, which has a number of side effects. They did a study in the UK, they put 126 people on a diet, simple diet, they cut out sugars, they got them to exercise. All of the 126 people were on type 2 medication, some were even on insulin injections. Out of that 126 people, 124 people all came off their medication. All came off their medication, just on a simple thing called diet and lifestyle. What a miracle. Diet and lifestyle. Take control of your life and you change the whole thing around. It's that simple. So, just finishing off. So, I'm back to the simplicity. I'm back to giving you a simple message. And people don't always want a simple message. They want some highfalutin, clever message. The simple message is that we need to pay attention to what we put in our mouths. A little bit of bad is not going to do you any harm, but I use an analogy which I call G over T. If you eat enough gunk over a long enough period of time, you're going to get sick. And if you eat a massive amount of gunk over a long enough period of time, you're going to get really sick. And how sick you get depends on how much rubbish you eat. A little bit, yeah, we all like a little bit sometimes, that little bit of cheesecake, a bit of ice cream, a bit of chocolate. Fine, great, in moderation. But when you see people who are living their entire life consuming a life of fast foods, a life of refined carbohydrates, then we've got problems. Then we've got problems, and that problem's affecting society, the way we're treated medically. Drug companies are coming out with more and more drugs. They have more and more side effects. I used to see people coming to me on 7 or 8 different medications for one problem, because one medication was to give them the type 2 diabetes. The other one was a cholesterol reducing medication. Then they had to have antacids because that called over a reflux. Then they had to have another one because they got gastroesophageal reflux disorder as the acid came up. So they're on a 4th medication. That affected their blood pressure, so they had to be on a blood pressure medication. Before you knew it, they came out with this suitcase full of drugs. Every day they had to get these little pill boxes so they knew which pills to take at what time of the day. I don't particularly want to live my life. I would like to get to a stage in my life where I grow old gracefully and I'm able to, and this sounds a bit rude, but I'm sorry, but I want to get to an age where I can blow my own nose and wipe my own bum. And when I can no longer blow my own nose and wipe my own bum, I don't want to be around any longer. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.